Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Barakata. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Salak. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'm going to give a quick testimonial of a chariot I saw, as well as get a few scriptures of the chariots of the Most High, which Esau, the so-called white man, calls UFOs or flying saucers, which we really know are IFOs or identified flying objects. And this is a picture I took about a week and a half ago. It was during the evening time, and I happened to look out the driver's side of my window and see this mountain of a cloud in the middle of that darkness with this glowing aura around it. And if we zoom in and look towards the top, we see a perfectly round band at the top of it, which looks like a flying saucer, and it's too rounded to be a regular cloud. And this is a chariot of the Most High, which in the scriptures, the chariots of the Most High are described as many things, such as a flying scroll, or a flying shield, as well as a cloud. And what was interesting about this was I was at a red light when I saw this chariot, and this red light and intersection I'm at is usually very busy, bumper to bumper. But when I went to take this picture, the light turned green, and for about a good 15 seconds, there were no cars around me, allowing me to take this picture, showing that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai wanted me to get a picture of this. And I'm going to go into a few scriptures which describe the chariots of the Most High as clouds, which they're not literal fluffy clouds, because you got a lot of simple-minded people that believe that the chariots use these clouds as a sort of cloaking device. Think of the Predator from those movies. He has that invisibility cloak that bends light around him so he can't be seen by the average eye. This is Revelation chapter 10 verse 1. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, or pretty much cloaked with the cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. So when John the Revelator saw this chariot, first he saw it as a cloud before he saw the actual structure of it, and there was an angel driving the chariot. And I'm going to get a clip of it later, but think of that scene from Independence Day when the UFOs first started showing up. They came in a fiery cloud before they broke that cloud and revealed themselves. And now I'm going to go to Psalm chapter 104 verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. So mentioning clouds and chariot in the same verse, because again those chariots use those clouds as a sort of cloaking device. Who walketh upon the wings of the wind, which is pretty much saying they're flying in the sky. And this is Psalms chapter 105 verse 39. He spread a cloud for a covering or a cloak, a fire to give light in the night. And this is speaking of that account in Exodus where there was a cloud or chariot leading the children of Israel out of Egypt and through the wilderness. It was a guide for them, as it said, looking as a cloud during the day, but as a beam of fire during the night. And that pillar of fire is that so-called tractor beam. It's not a literal pillar of fire. And now I'm going to go to the verse in Exodus to further expound upon this account. This is Exodus chapter 13 verse 21. And Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. So that pillar of fire is speaking of that tractor beam, which was like a searchlight for those children of Israel, leading them during the nighttime when they couldn't see anything. And this is a poster from an alien abduction movie that came out during the 90s, I believe, called Fire in the Sky, or Pillar of Fire in the Sky. And what is that? That's a tractor beam beaming this guy up into the UFO. This just goes to show that the elites are in the know. They search these scriptures and have some understanding of them, and they put the truth right in front of you people's faces, but they hide it up with their left-hand trickery. This is Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 13. Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. So clouds and chariots in the same verse again. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. And when it says his horses are swifter than eagles, horse means power. Think of horsepower in a car. And what it's saying is that these chariots are faster than anything, any kind of craft Esau has right now. And there's nothing that can compare to the chariots of the Most High. They can bend the laws of gravity to their will and and they can just do all types of metaphysical stuff pretty much. And you're going to need spiritual bodies just to be able to withstand flying around in those chariots. This is Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. And what do we read back in Jeremiah 14, verse 3? Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariot shall be as a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. And those flames of fire, speaking of so-called laser beams, which the chariots of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua are going to be shooting onto America during that time of its judgment. And not only are laser beams going to be hitting America or Babylon the Great, but also nuclear missiles from these other countries, destroying this place from sea to shining sea. And before all this destruction hits, those chariots are going to use that pillar of fire, that tractor beam, to beam up the elect to save them from these coming calamities. And now I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. The burden of Egypt, which the spiritual Egypt today is America, as pursuant to Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. Behold, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, or again a chariot, and shall come into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Because once these chariots show up to render that judgment onto America, the idols or the soothsayers of the Egyptians or the Americans, such as these witches or warlocks, won't be able to use any of their left-hand magic to stop this coming destruction, because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to take away that left-hand energy from the elites of the Edomites, so they're just going to have to sit there and take this judgment, though a lot of the elites, such as the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, are going to save themselves by being in underground or underwater bunkers, as well as low-orbit space stations. But a lot of you witches and warlocks are going to be left in the dust and get destroyed by these nukes or laser beams. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, because a lot of you two-thirds or Edomites are going to lose your goddamn minds when you see these chariots in the skies, and then you start seeing these laser beams hit this area. And the Most High is going to put thoughts into your minds to remember the words of the prophets that you may have passed on the highways and byways, scoffing at them, hearing about the chariots of the Most High coming to render judgment onto this place. Now I'm going to go to 2 Ezra chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 6. And this is speaking of the fathership that Yahushua is going to be in, which is described as we'll read, a great mountain. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So this great chariot, or this great mountain, is going to be so big that you won't be able to see the end of it, as Ezra said. And that's going to be a terrifying but beautiful sight at the same time, because we're going to get to see that these words we've been reading and prophesying about are true, and that they're coming to pass right before our eyes. And it's going to be scary, because the hopeful elect won't know if they're the elect until those tractor beams hit them and beam them up into the chariot. And now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And that 3 days and a half is speaking of that 350 years of slavery, which the physical part I guess you can say, ended around the Civil War, but the mental slavery kept going on until around the Civil Rights era in the 60s, when Jake started waking up to Esau's fuckery and started rebelling. And around 1969, you had Abba Bivens, who started preaching the truth of the Israelites and who the true children of Israel were. And now you've seen the fruits of his labor. You had One West and now GMS, a great millstone, preaching who the 12 tribes are, that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true children of Israel, that America is Babylon the Great, that mark of the beast is the RFID microchip, and what the judgment on this world is going to be for its wickedness. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in that tractor beam, in a cloud, that chariot, and their enemies beheld them. So whoever the elect are, when they're beamed up in this chariot, our enemies, such as 2/3 of our own people, as well as these other heathen nations, chiefly Esau, the so-called white man, are going to see and behold our strange salvation and fear because of it. And this is what the true rapture is, not that Christian rapture doctrine that they have, which is complete bullshit, because they think that just because they know the name of Jesus Christ, which isn't his real name, that they've been saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, that they're going to be beamed up in the rapture and saved from that 7 years tribulation of the Antichrist, which is just complete madness. The only Christians that are going to be saved are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that have come out of that plantation Christianity mindset and come back to the truth of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, as preached through the men of GMS and the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17, Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. And those that are alive and remain are the elect that weren't martyred in this truth and that have made it to the end where these chariots are going to beam them up. And if you do happen to be a martyr, don't fret about it. Just endure until the end, because that's a beautiful thing. You're going to be waiting for us in the chariots or those clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So again, those chariots are going to beam us up with those pillar of fire tractor beams to save us at the last second from those nuclear missiles and those laser beams judging this world. And now I'm going to close it off with Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, and as well as a clip from that movie Independence Day. Behold, he cometh with clouds, again those chariots, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, which just goes to prove that reincarnation is biblical, because those Romans that pierced Yahushai back in the day are back here today in the U.S. military in some capacity or the other. And all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail, because they'll be in great terror, seeing these chariots or these UFOs that they don't understand what they are. And if they have, if they have heard the prophets on the highways and the byways preach of these chariots being UFOs, then they'll have it in their spirit to know that what we said was true, and that that judgment is about to befall them. And now I'm gonna go to this clip from Independence Day to further show that these elites know what time it is. We got that chariot breaking that cloud of fire. And all the kindreds of the earth shall see. And it's spiritual that you've got so-called Negroes and Hispanics seeing this chariot. That's who the children of Israel are, and that's who's going to be beamed up if you're of the elect. Then we got this damn devil show up, as well as these other heathen-looking people. So as you can see, brothers, this is all just a sign of the times, and that we're closer and closer to the end of this final captivity and the beginning of our salvation and eternal rulership. So just hold on and keep preaching this word. So with that, I'm going to say Abba Ball, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.